Hello everyone, Justin Rondo here, and in this video we're going to discuss another optimization method that we haven't talked about just yet, and that is landing page optimization. Alright, so landing page optimization is a little different than your standard conversion rate optimization. Okay, so we're going to talk briefly about this and then how to identify landing pages that actually work for you and how to create a landing page that will convert. Okay, so let's get started. So you might be asking, what's landing page optimization? What is LPO? What's the difference between conversion rate optimization? Aren't they really just the same thing? All right. So let's just frame this out. So landing page optimization, it is a part of the CRO process, but it focuses solely on on optimizing a campaign's landing page. All right. So that might be still a little too nuanced, so let me try and explain this a little differently. So, conversion rate optimization, all right, that focuses on optimizing the entire site experience. So it's actually looking at, the funnel as a whole. Okay? So we have, our home page, our category pages, our product pages, our carts, and our thank you pages, but we're really just trying to make sure from a conversion rate optimization perspective that we aren't losing too many people along that journey. So we're trying to optimize the journey and optimize the experience such that we see an increased conversion rate. So this is really just a real holistic approach to optimizing your site. So where do landing pages differ? Well, where landing pages differ is strictly here, is that the goal of the landing page optimization is to optimize the immediate conversion on a particular landing page. So remember when I talked about the difference between short-term and long-term goals? Well, in this case, both the short term and the long term goal from a landing page optimization perspective is all on getting people to take the desired action on the landing page, whether that be a click through, filling out, actually purchasing something, or generating a lead. All right, and I mean you can have further long term goals, or maybe if it's a click through page that you're trying to get them into your funnel, but landing page optimization is really about just trying to make sure your landing page will be as optimized as possible. Okay, so the question that landing page optimizers are going to be asking is really, how do I improve this page? Okay, so landing page optimization in general, it's promotionally driven. It's promotion focused. You're going to be seeing people coming from pay per click, whether that be Facebook, Google AdWords, LinkedIn, anything like that. So you're going to see seeing a lot of people come from those sources. Other sources that you'll see coming from landing pages are from promotionally driven emails. All right, so I mean, your landing pages, from the perspective that we're looking at it here, are supposed to be almost a conversion island, is how I kind of look at it. So I think it's best to make a differentiation between a landing page proper and kind of the landing pages we'll be talking about from an optimization perspective. So, landing pages proper, that's really any page a person lands on initially. Okay, so your home page is generally uh, one of your most visited landing pages, but that's not, in a sense, what a landing page actually is. Okay, that's the pure definition of it, yes, but that's not what we're talking about when we would discuss landing page optimization. Obviously, on a landing page, you want to reduce navigation, keep the call to action link ratio as low as humanly possible. But that's not going to be the same case for a homepage design. Homepages are meant to bring people through your funnel and to maybe indoctrinate them into your brand. They're not going to be this kind of conversion island where you want to have a one-to-one relationship between the offer and all the links on the page. All right? So, since this is very promotionally driven, we need to start keeping traffic temperature in mind here. All right? So, we've kind of doled out what we look at as traffic temperature. We have cold, warm, and hot. All right? And so in the cold traffic arena, these are people who really don't know about your business. And so these are going to be a lot of the people who are coming from, your different paid campaigns. People that aren't familiar with your brand, aren't familiar with your offering, and are have found something intriguing about the advertisements that you have out there. So these are people that really don't have a good reason to actually do business with you just yet, other than the fact that you're promising something that they need. All right, so they don't really have much of a trust factor there, and you still need to indoctrinate them into your brand. So, kind of those short term type landing pages that just kind of push an offer, those really like kind of more squeeze pages, they are not really appropriate for a cold traffic audience because they have no other reason other than solving a problem to do any sort of business with you or take any sort of action. All right. So now we have warm traffic. And so, warm traffic, these are the people that have some idea about your brand, but they haven't purchased with you yet. Or if they have purchased, it's been really kind of like one-time buys, like of small purchases altogether. But these are really people that you are retargeting. These are people coming back to your site after they've interacted with you before. So they know a little bit more about you and they understand your brand and maybe your values and what you have to offer. So these are people that actually you can kind of use shorter scale landing pages and kind of really up the type of content that you have on the page, and you can really just try to push hard on a lot harder on the warm traffic people because they know who you are, they have a problem, so now you just have to reel them in. So they have familiarity and some sort of need that needs to be met. So now we have in hot traffic, and these are the people who have purchased from you before. So anybody who's purchased from you before knows who you are, knows your products, understands your quality, and from these perspectives, like this can be probably the shortest form type of content that's out there that you'd be using from a landing page perspective. So remember when we were talking about copy, and we talked about the the need for copy length and what dictates copy length, and what dictates that is the actual the perceived value and actual value that they're getting. So really, the higher the value of the product, the more copy, the higher the value, and the higher the cost rather, the more content you're going to need. And that's the same from a landing page perspective. The bigger the promise, or the bigger the cost, the more it's going to take out of the person that's going to do business with you, the more information they're going to need to make that decision. So those standard above the fold only landing pages in a lot of cases won't cut it from this perspective. They need to be kind of longer form, especially from a cold and even warm traffic perspective. All right, so let's dig into what I look at as the 5 main factors that make a great landing page. Okay, so the first is the offer, and we discussed offer briefly, and this really isn't still the certification that's going to be really helping you dial in on your offer. But when I'm discussing offer here, what I'm really talking about is the offer consistent? Is it something that people can see and understand? So I'm not going to get into auditing any sort of offers right here. We're going to make the assumption that the offer is good. Okay. So here's a 4-point offer checklist that I take a look at. The first thing, is the offer clear? And number 2, is your offer congruent to your ad referral traffic? So you really want to make sure that what is in the advertisement is actually then said again in the landing page, so that there is some sort of congruency. People know they've clicked the right ad, that they're in the right place, so they can make a decision, a better decision. All right. So I actually have an example of that I'll show you after this checklist. So the next thing you need to ask is, does the offer simply make sense? So you can have something that's clear, but it might be absurd. So make sure if the offer actually makes sense and it's being articulated correctly. And is the offer pictured, demonstrated, and described adequately? Do people know what they're getting, when they should expect to get it, how to give it back to you, and can they actually see the benefits of using this? So here's an example about really just offer congruency. Okay, so I put in keyword iPhone 6 and I found this ad that said, order iPhone 6 US Cellular. iPhone 6 is here. Order now and get free shipping at uscellular.com. Okay, here was the page I got immediately when I clicked there, and they gave me a immediate pop that you could see for $10 off my order. That's still not relevant to what I want to see there. I know I want to see an iPhone 6 and I want to see free shipping. But then I get this page. So above the fold, they do tell me that there's free shipping on all online orders. Great. But look at what's going on here. There's an LG Pad tablet that's being showcased with the Apple information being all pushed below the fold. So this is a terrible example of a landing page. If they had an iPhone, centric sales page, or even just a better type of navigation rather than just sending it to their category page, this would be far, far, far more successful. So I'm lost between ad and the actual click through. I don't see what I'm looking for immediately. I'm seeing an offer from US Cellular, and then I'm also seeing a tablet right away. So this is a terrible use of ad congruency, all right? So make sure that when you are creating your landing pages and actually doing PPC campaigns, that you have relevant landing pages that make sense and articulate the offer in the ad. That's absolutely, absolutely critical, okay? So here's an example of a Shopify landing page from a PPC campaign. All right. And so from an offer perspective here, and we'll talk about ad congruency after this, but from an offer perspective here, it's very clear what's going on. So we have create your e-commerce store, very, very clear offer, and it makes sense. I get to start a 14-day trial, and it's $14 a month to create an e-commerce store. So clarity is there, and also the offer is depicted in the form of a video. So this meets a lot of the criteria there. And so it has a clear offer that does make sense, as well as a depicted offer. So what about congruency? All right, is there congruency here? So e-commerce site, so simple, Shopify. Our e-commerce site just works. So simple, you'll be shocked. Unlimited 24/7 support, 100 plus professional themes, and accept credit cards. So they made sure to put Shopify.com in their ad headline there, which is cool, because then you see Shopify, e-commerce site, e-commerce store is reiterated in the headline again. They start talking about pricing. They don't really talk about themes at all in this, or their support structure, but you get the idea. It would be interesting to see if they just talked about the 14-day trial in the advertisement. I guess you're right. They do show the 14-day trial, but they put it as 2-week free trial in the links below in the ad. But that's one of the main sticking points, I think, for getting people to sign up. But there is ad congruency there. They have their branding, as well as using e-commerce site and some other structure and some other information that's within the actual body copy there, which are just bullet points. Okay, so overall they did a good job with their offer. Now let's take a look at the next step in our checklist, and that's form. Okay, so form is another one on our 5-point landing page must-haves, and whether it be a form on page or a click through to another form, you need to have some kind of way to either make a sale or generate a lead. So here's my 5-point form checklist. Can you actually see the form? Is it visible? Is the number of form fields correlated to the offer's value? So just like with creating content or landing page length, the number of form fields that you use is directly connected to the perceived value of the product or service. People will give you much more information if they see value in it. Is the form headline compelling? So are you able to draw people in with that form headline and then give them the incentive to begin filling it out? Is the call to action clear and noticeable? And if a visitor scrolls away from the form, can they easily return? Are there hot links? Does the form follow you? Is it just a above the fold only landing page where the form just kind of sits there? What's going on there? Can people take the action when they want to? So some things that happen on these really long form landing pages, where people they hit a certain level where now they're convinced to convert, but then they have to actually take further actions, either scroll all the way back up to the top of the page or all the way to the bottom, or find a link somewhere in the middle. So just make sure that if you have a main call to action, you want to keep it like top of mind, whether it be a form or a click through to another page for checking out or form purposes. So let's take a look at Shopify again. And so they have a create your e-commerce store with Shopify. All right, so now we're going to take it from the form perspective, and does it meet the different criteria. All right, so there's the form. It's a horizontal form, which I'm really not a huge fan of. People read that way, but in terms of filling things out, I've just seen vertical forms do very well. But that's my own perspective. I really think people should try out vertical versus horizontal. But in most tests I see, vertical ends up winning. This is the appropriate number of form fields. All they need to do is have the email address, password, and store name to create their store. They have a form headline, which is start your free $14 trial, a 14-day trial today. And free is always compelling, so that looks good for them. And then create your store, very clear call to action. They didn't use a submit, complete, finish. Create your store. They're using great call to action copy there, so I applaud them on that. So they really hit all of these. And finally, it's all above the fold, so they're going to see that form no matter what. So they actually hit every kind of form. They were able to check off everything on the form checklist here, which is great. All right, so let's now move into trust, which is number 3. So people will not do business or give information to people they do not trust. I think that's very simple, and that's why a lot of companies have issues on the web. Okay, so here's the 5-point trust checklist. Are there relevant trust icons? Are there non-anonymous testimonials? Because really, people are smarter than I think we give them credit to. Anybody can make a fake testimonial, and unless you have a face, a title, and a name associated with it, I think a lot of people will just kind of write that off as some clever copywriting. Are there clear privacy policies? You want to make sure that people are able to reduce their anxiety, and privacy policies and trust icons do that. So make sure that you have those clearly listed. And also from a compliance perspective, you do need to have that privacy policy there. Are there any relevant guarantees? Do you have 30-day money back guarantees, 60-day, anything like that? And are you making it very clear? And are there any return policies listed on the page? So if you have a physical item, is there a return policy people need to be aware of? Are there cancellation policies that people need to be aware of? All of these things will help build trust. Okay, so here's the Shopify page where they have a trust indicator with the 165,000 stores. They really just kind of went along with the trust indicator side. There's no security seals. There's really no anything else. There's really no privacy policy set. And they try another one here with trust indicator with the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and Fast Company. I'm not really sure if these are people who use Shopify or if they've just been written up there. That seems a bit ambiguous. And then they also reiterate that trust indicator again as their sub-headline by saying trusted by over 165,000 businesses worldwide. So they're really focusing on the trust factor that's on the list. All right, so moving into the visual hierarchy. The 3 visual hierarchy questions to ask. Does the page maintain the ad sent? Are your layout or imagery competing with your primary call to action? Is the most important content easily visible? Okay, so let's take a look at Shopify again. So the call to action stands out. They're still using on-brand colors, but since it's a quite drab layout, that does stand out the most. This is logical content placement, but white on gray is never a great color scheme. Though the lightened gray, it's whenever there's some color theory that suggests that if something content in lighter areas get the most focus, the eye's drawn to the lighter areas. So since this gray is somewhat lighter than what's where the headline is and where the form is, you're actually being drawn to that, but it's actually kind of difficult to read. So I'd never suggest using this type of white text or this kind of knockout text. That's harder for people to read and actually makes people have a difficult time, and people having a difficult time do not convert. Okay? So now finally moving into the 5th point, which is persuasiveness. And persuasiveness we talked about earlier on, so I'm not going to get too in-depth here, but there's the 6 principles of persuasion. There's reciprocity, commitment and consistency, liking, authority, social proof, and scarcity. Okay? So Here is Shopify. So let's build this up from the 6 principles that Dr. Cialdini laid out. So 14-day free trial, that's reciprocity right there. They're giving them something with hopes that they'll get back commitment and consistency. And really, when you're using any sort of membership model, that really falls into commitment and consistency as a whole. So authority, so they're using the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and Fast Company. Those are authority figures out there, and they're trying to kind of usurp some of their authority for their own taking. They do use social proof as well with the 165,000 businesses worldwide. Okay, so they used about 3 out of the 6 examples of persuasion, which is very strong. So that's a midway strong uh, persuasive page. So they're doing a decent job there. So I wanted to give you an example of another landing page, and I actually think this is a well put together landing page, so you can see kind of how these things work. So here's the ad: save time on social media, Hootsuite.com. So they did similar to what Shopify did, where they put their name in their headline. Easily schedule social media posts. Try it free. Get started today. Over 10 million users. Best way to manage social. All-in-one social tool. The ideal tool for a business on social media. All right, and then they also have choose the right plan, free 30-day pro trial, manage enterprise social, and how can we help you. So here's the page that you hit, which is, so this is the entire page. The fold hits about where the end of the blue at the top is. So you can see we have schedule social media posts and save time. And so that's actually a great example of, of ad congruency there, where they say save time on social media, and that is in their headline. Where then get powerful tools to help your business succeed on social media, and they were stressing the tool factor in the copy of the ad. Okay, and so you can also, we'll go through this more in depth, but then this is a click-through landing page. So when they click start your free 30-day trial, they are brought here, where it says create account in 3 easy steps, free for 30 days, then starting at $9.99 a month. All right, so overall, I think they've done a great job from the landing page to the checkout page. It's a great looking landing page, and it fits within ad congruency. So let's actually dig in here. So let's look at the offer first. So we'll look at the landing page. There's a clear offer, right? You know what you're getting. You get a free 30-day trial to Hootsuite, and they talk more about Hootsuite Pro below. But just from the top perspective, like what you're getting, they talk about the benefits, and they talk about exactly what the product is. All right, so the ad content is in the headline. So from an ad congruency perspective, they're using the exact words that were in the headline and reiterating them in the most read areas of the page. Does the offer make sense? It does. They really have it clear even on the call to action, where they say start your free 30-day trial. So you're not just purchasing, so you're not just looking at the offer of Hootsuite Pro, but they're sweetening the deal and they're explaining how that works. And that's actually reiterated again in the cart. And then finally, it clearly demonstrated and described both above and below the fold how to get to that call to action. So that call to action is everywhere. So it's above the fold, it's within the body content, and in kind of the lower end footer content, for people that are much more likely to read through the entire page. So there isn't really a chance for them to want to make an action where they're unable to. So now let's dig into the form, right? So you had to click to see the form, which was kind of a bummer. So actually, let me click through this so we can see the form. Yes, with a credit card, these are necessary fields. So the amount of form fields that you're getting here, which is really just your email address, full name, password, then credit card info, as well as billing address. So the credit card info you can't really do a whole lot about. That's going to strictly be, just from standards there. But all they're asking for outside of that is email, name, password, and then to select your plan. Very, very easy and straightforward form for somebody that's going to get out the credit card. All right. It sets time commitments. And it says, create an account in 3 easy steps, and all 3 steps are on the page. So it isn't going to be a long, drawn-out process, and so people will know that they can get this done and get this done quickly. The CTA is clear. It's where you'd expect it to be after you fill in the credit card information, and the form is present at all times. Since it's a left-hand rail form, you are constantly seeing it, and you're constantly seeing the section that you are on there. So there isn't that issue of people trying to fill in a portion of the form, scrolling away, and going anywhere else, because this is really a dedicated cart page where that is the main event right there. Okay, so let's dig into trust. So here is the landing page again. So there's really no trust icon on either the landing page or the cart. So they're really not pushing into the trust factor there, which is an interesting move, especially when people are pulling out their credit cards. All right, there are no testimonials on either page. It wouldn't make sense to really have a testimonial in the cart page as it is, but they're really just focusing on the 10 million users and brands that use and trust Hootsuite. But there's really no clear testimonials. They're just getting the standard, these are people that have used us. The only mention of privacy is in a text link on the cart. And actually, let me go back to show you that. All right, so that text link is really in this small section right under the Start My Free Trial, where it says, by clicking Start My Free Trial, I agree to Hootsuite terms, including the payment term and privacy policy underlined. So there really isn't much mention of privacy or guarantees or anything like that. And that just moved into there. So finally, the cancellation policy is clear on the cart page. It's in that blue section that talks about how you can cancel at any time. And then if you cancel before your 30-day trial is up, you won't be charged for anything. The standard stuff you'd expect to see there. But from a trust perspective, they don't really do a whole heck of a lot to get you to pull out your credit card. Really, the big thing they're banking on are the actual companies that have used them in the past or currently. So let's move into visual hierarchy. All right, so here's the landing page again. So there is no visual ad that this was associated with, but the copy is consistent with the ad, so that's fairly simple. The layout and imagery complement the call to action. That green does stand out against that blue and gray background. You know immediately where to click. And one thing I think was interesting is that they used ghost buttons. And ghost buttons I'm kind of like vehemently opposed to, because they don't look like a button. They don't look clickable. They look like you need to unlock something for them to be clickable. But they use them great. It could be as a secondary call to action, where you have start your free 30-day trial, and that learn more button is that ghost button I was just complaining about. But unlike when we would have, start your free 30-day trial and then a secondary call to action would be like a text link, they're trying to use the ghost button to set that visual hierarchy, which I think is a smart move. From there, the buttons also stay oriented with the type of copy. So the button's left oriented in the top, where everything else is left oriented. They make a change in the middle of the copy where still, it is left oriented, but they actually centered the entire area there. And so they have that button falling in line there. It'd be awkward if it was all the way over to the left, similar to where it was at the top. And then on the bottom section where they say take your business to the next level on social media, they fall back to the layout that was at the top. So it is the layout and imagery do really complement the call to action. And yep, the color scheme and layout keep the most important content top of mind. If I were to be uber critical, it's just that knockout text. It's light text on a lightish background. That's really my only kind of issue with how this page is laid out. So now let's get to persuasion. So here's the page again. So reciprocity, check. They're doing the start your free 30-day trial. They have that there. Cool, great work. Commitment and consistency, check. I'm really saying I'm making the case that for a lot of membership sites that you're making a commitment to them and you want to stay consistent within it. You don't want to be that marketer that started using a social scheduling tool, especially something that's based off of scheduling and posting things where it's inherently some kind of commitment or consistency factor involved. So I think that they have that here. Liking, they really don't use any there. They're kind of basing it off of an authority role, because liking and authority I can see, well, liking and social proof I can see being closely related, whereas liking is the one-to-one relationship. You know the person who's kind of sharing this, and so that comes from referral. referral methods. So there's nothing really there for that. Authority check, they're really appealing to authority with that 10 million user base and like listing brands such as Five Guys and the other brands that they had listed there. Social proof, check again. So they're using that 10 million users, that 10 million number as a social proof factor, as well as mentioning the brands again. Hootsuite is also going back to authority. Hootsuite's also an authority in their field, so they're very well known from a branding perspective. They've done the right thing here. And then scarcity, there's none. This is a perpetual offer. They don't talk about any sort of close, which is fine. You don't want to create false scarcity. False scarcity is what we call lying. So you don't want to lie to people because we talked about how trust is so important in optimization and in landing pages as a whole. So don't lie to people. If you don't have scarcity, don't make it up. And that's what Hootsuite did here. Okay, so they were able to actually get, 4 of the 6 persuasion points. So kudos to them and great work. So there's a few more things I just want to leave with you when you're considering doing landing page optimization and what you have to keep in mind. The first thing would be, keep your link ratio low. If you can, make it 1-to-1. In most cases, you can't from a compliance issue where you do need to have things such as, terms of service from a PPC campaign. You need to give them an out. They can't just make it a complete desolate island. All right, so in this case, the Shopify logo links back to Shopify.com. They have a login here, but then they have the create your store. So they have a kind of a 3-to-1 link to call to action ratio here. So that's actually really good. You want to get as close to 1-to-1 as possible. And now here's an example of another where look at all of the different links that are on this page. So this is another example of when people use a landing page that they just send to their category page, and in some cases that works for broad category searches. That could work out, but still that navigation is killing them, and there's just links all over this. If we were to count them all on the page, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's probably about 40 to 50 links on here, where 2 are only the main call to action. So that's not as great. So try to keep that link ratio as low as possible, okay? And then finally, don't forget about compliance. And so finally, don't forget about compliance. Don't publish a page until it meets all of this criteria. You need to have your logo. You need to have that logo be clickable. You do need footer navigation with contact us, privacy policies. The FAQ is optional, but also include home. You need to have a detailed headline with no extraordinary claims. So none of those, get rich overnight type things or making kind of crazy unfounded promises. You need to visually represent what they're getting. So a visual representation, and we do that here at number 5. You need a disclaimer for any major claim. So maybe you do have something that seems extraordinary, but you actually make the disclaimer. These were individual cases. You see that a lot on kind of weight loss, even like infomercials, even on their landing pages or anything like that, where people, if you have a kind of out there type claim or an extraordinary claim, you have to ground it in reality with a disclaimer. You need to have detailed opt-in expectations, privacy policies all around, and a clearly defined immediate action of what they should be receiving. If you don't hit all of these, you could get crushed by the Googles, which nobody wants to happen. And I know different paid platforms have different criteria, but really it'd be in your best interest to actually stick with just the most strict criteria, and that's Google right now, and kind of work from there. Facebook is heading that way anyways, so rather than using like those standard squeeze pages, just get a template that fits within compliance and just work from there. All right, so that is landing page optimization. I hope that helped out, and I hope you start reassessing the landing pages you have right now to come up with some really great ones that you can test out and then just boost conversions. All right, thank you.